The war between humans and the alien Vorians had finally ended, leaving behind smoke, silence, and memories that would never fade. The human soldier, Captain Ryan Hayes, stood among the alien crowd, his armor scratched, his eyes tired, but his heart steady. He didn't fight for fame, but for peace. And now, after years of battle, the aliens wanted to honor him. The great Vorian hall shimmered with blue light as thousands gathered to watch. Long banners floated in the air showing the symbols of both species, the human eagle and the Vorian star. Ryan felt strange standing there, surrounded by creatures with silver skin and glowing eyes. They looked beautiful and perfect, while he stood rough and scarred, a reminder of war among beings of elegance. At the front, the Vorian High Council rose. Their leader, Elder Sira, spoke in a calm voice that echoed through the hall. "Human soldier, you fought beside us when others fled. You saved our young, protected our cities, and showed courage we thought only our kind possessed." The audience clapped with their long fingers, their voices creating a soft hum. Ryan nodded slightly, unsure how to respond to the praise. He had only done what felt right. Then came the part no one expected. Elder Sira continued, "As a token of our eternal gratitude, we offer you a reward, one of our maidens. You may choose any among them. They will serve you with loyalty, care, and devotion as is our ancient custom." A quiet gasp filled the air. The alien women standing near the stage glanced at each other. They were tall, glowing, and elegant, like living art. Each had a beauty that made even the lights dim. Ryan looked at them carefully, but his expression didn't change. He wasn't here for a reward. He was still thinking of the faces he couldn't save, both human and alien. He didn't want anyone's service. He wanted peace of mind, but then his eyes stopped. At the far end of the line stood a girl trying to hide behind the others. She was shorter, her silver skin not as bright, her figure rounder than the rest. Her hands trembled, her eyes wide with fear. She clearly didn't want to be there. Her name, whispered among others, was Lyra. Something about her face and her nervousness, her silence, reminded him of someone long ago, someone he had saved during a burning village. He couldn't be sure, but his heart felt heavy, like it knew her already. Elder Sira noticed his gaze and smiled. "You may choose, human captain. The decision is yours." Ryan's voice was calm but clear. "I choose her." He lifted his hand and pointed directly at Lyra. The entire hall froze. A long silence followed, so heavy it could be felt in the air. Then whispers began. "Did he say her? The heavy one? Is this some human joke?" Even the council members exchanged confused glances. Elder Sira blinked, surprised. "Are you certain, Captain Hayes? You may take time to decide." "I've decided," Ryan said softly. "Her..." Lyra's glowing eyes widened. She stepped back in shock, pressing her hands to her chest. The other girls stared, whispering cruelly behind their perfect smiles. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the ground. She had always been the one others ignored or mocked for her body. And now this, chosen by a human hero. Guards escorted her to Ryan's side. She avoided his eyes, her face red with shame. Ryan turned toward her gently, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You don't need to be afraid," she whispered, trembling. "Why, me?" Ryan only gave a small smile. "Because you remind me of something real." He didn't explain more. The council clapped politely, though confusion and laughter rippled through the audience. The ceremony ended awkwardly. Ryan walked out of the grand hall beside Lyra, while the aliens murmured behind them, gossiping and laughing. Outside, under the cold alien moon, Lyra finally spoke again. "You could have chosen anyone," she said quietly. "They all wanted to be chosen." Ryan looked up at the stars. "Sometimes the right choice isn't the one that shines the brightest," he replied. She didn't understand, but there was something in his tone, something honest, something that didn't feel like pity. As they walked into the long corridor of lights, the whispering voices faded behind them. The alien world still watched, waiting to see what would happen next. Lyra's heart raced with confusion and fear, but somewhere deep inside, a tiny spark of hope began to form. A hope that maybe, for the first time in her life, someone saw her not for how she looked, but for who she truly was. The next morning, Lyra stood in front of a mirror inside the guest quarters of the human camp, built on Vorian soil. She stared at her reflection, the same round face, the same soft body she had hated since childhood. The same person everyone teased. But now that same reflection belonged to the girl chosen by the human hero. Outside the walls, laughter echoed. Alien servants whispered as they passed by her door. Why did he pick her? One voice said. She can barely walk up the stairs, another giggled. Lyra pressed her hands over her ears, wishing the sound would stop. Then the door opened. Captain Ryan entered, wearing simple clothes instead of his battle armor. His movements were slow, calm, not like the proud alien men she was used to. He carried 2 metal cups of steaming tea. Good morning, he said gently. She turned away, embarrassed. You shouldn't be here. Everyone's talking. They say you made a mistake. Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe I did, he said, handing her a cup. But mistakes sometimes lead to truth. Lyra didn't reply. She kept staring at the cup as if it were something she didn't deserve. Ryan took a seat near the window. You're not comfortable here, are you? She shook her head. They all laugh. They think I'm a joke, and you'll get mocked too because of me. Ryan looked outside at the alien skyline glowing with violet light. Let them laugh, he said softly. I've heard worse. I fought in a war where people screamed when I saved their lives, because they didn't want a human touching them. Lyra's eyes lifted slightly. They hated you for saving them? Yes, Ryan said. But I saved them anyway. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then she asked, almost whispering, Why me? You could have chosen someone beautiful, someone perfect. Ryan looked at her, his eyes calm but deep. Do you know what beauty is, Lyra? She frowned, unsure how to answer. Beauty, he said, is courage when everyone else gives up. It's kindness when the world is cruel. It's staying when everyone runs away. Lyra didn't know why, but her throat tightened. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not even her own people. That evening, they walked together through the capital streets. People stopped to stare. Some whispered, some laughed openly. Alien women pointed and covered their mouths. Even the market sellers chuckled as the hero human passed by with the fat alien girl. Ryan ignored them. Lyra tried to keep her eyes on the ground, her steps small and quick. At one stall, an alien child tugged at her arm. Why did the human choose you? He asked, innocent but blunt. Lyra froze, unable to reply. Ryan bent down and looked at the child. Because she's brave, he said simply. Braver than anyone here. The boy blinked, surprised. His mother quickly pulled him away. Lyra felt her face heat up, but for the first time she didn't feel ashamed. As they walked back, she said softly, You shouldn't say such things. They'll think you're lying. Truth doesn't need belief, Ryan said, smiling slightly. It only needs to be said. When they reached the camp, the alien guards at the gate laughed as they passed. One of them muttered, Guess humans have strange taste. Lyra looked down, holding back tears. Ryan turned to the guard, his tone steady but sharp. Maybe, but humans also have hearts strong enough to see beyond shape and shine. Can you? The guard said nothing. Inside the camp, Lyra sat quietly near the fire. Ryan handed her a blanket. You're shaking, he said. It's not the cold, she whispered. It's everything. I don't understand you. He looked at her kindly. You don't have to. Just trust that there's a reason for everything. Lyra glanced at him, curious. You speak like someone hiding something. Ryan chuckled softly. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. The fire crackled between them, sending small sparks into the air. The silence felt warmer now, calmer. Lyra relaxed a little, her eyes softening. For the first time she smiled. A small, uncertain smile, but real. Ryan noticed. That's better, he said. You look stronger when you smile. Stronger? She laughed nervously. I don't feel strong at all. You will, he said. Soon. As night fell, Lyra lay in her bed thinking about his words. She had been called many things in her life, slow, weak, useless, but never strong. Outside, Ryan stood alone under the alien sky, looking up at the twin moons. His hand tightened around a small data chip hidden in his pocket. It contained secrets about the weapon that destroyed her village years ago. The same village where he once saw a brave little alien girl shielding others from fire. He now knew the truth. The girl from that day was Lyra, and that was the reason he had chosen her. The next few days passed quietly. The Vorian capital returned to normal life, but whispers about the human's strange choice continued everywhere. Wherever Ryan and Lyra went, eyes followed them. Some laughed, some judged, and others simply wondered what kind of madness made a human hero choose her. Lyra tried her best to ignore it, but every stare felt like a sting. She kept asking herself the same question, why me? One evening, Ryan invited her to join him for a walk through the old part of the city. The streets were quieter there, lined with crumbling stone and old war scars. The air carried a faint smell of burnt metal, reminders of battles fought long ago. Lyra hesitated. No one comes here anymore, she said softly. That's why I want to, Ryan replied, his tone calm. Some places still have answers. As they walked deeper, the lights dimmed and shadows stretched long across the walls. Ryan stopped near a broken gate. Behind it stood the ruins of what once looked like a research lab. Windows shattered, walls marked by fire. Lyra froze, her breath catching. I know this place, she whispered. It's where I used to work. Ryan turned to her, his eyes steady. You were an assistant here, weren't you? Her eyes widened. How do you know that? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he brushed dust off a broken sign. The old alien symbols glowed faintly in the dark. This lab was building something dangerous. A weapon that ended the war, but destroyed everything around it. I was there when it happened. Lyra stepped back. Her hands trembled. No, that can't be true. They said humans caused the explosion. Ryan shook his head slowly. That's the lie they told you. The real weapon was made here. I saw it fall apart. I saw you, trying to pull others to safety while everyone ran. Her heart stopped for a moment. You saw me? Yes, he said softly. You were just a young worker then. I was part of the rescue team sent in after the blast. I never forgot your face. Everyone called you weak, but you were the only one who stayed. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. The memory of that day burned inside her. Fire, screams, the ground shaking. She remembered pulling 2 small children out of the rubble while her legs bled. She never knew anyone had seen her. Ryan looked away, his voice heavy. That's why I chose you, Lyra. Not because I pitied you. Because you were brave when no one was watching. The words struck her deeply. For the first time she felt seen. Truly seen. But the moment didn't last long. Ryan's expression hardened as he looked toward the dark sky. There's more. I didn't come to this city just to receive a reward. I'm looking for the truth about that weapon. Someone's trying to rebuild it. Lyra's heart sank. Rebuild it? But why? The war is over. Power, Ryan said. For some, war never ends. It only hides. He pulled out a small device from his jacket, the same data chip he'd been carrying. This contains coordinates of a secret lab hidden in the desert. I need to find it, but I can't do it alone. You know, their systems, their language. I need your help. Lyra stepped back, frightened. If they find out I helped a human spy, they'll execute me. Ryan looked at her firmly. You're not helping a spy. You're helping someone stop another war. She hesitated, torn between fear and duty. Then she remembered the children she saved long ago. The screams, the fire. She took a deep breath. All right, I'll help you. But you must promise, no more lies. He nodded. I promise. That night, Lyra guided Ryan through the city's back channels, using old codes she remembered from her days in the lab. They hid in shadowed alleys, avoiding patrol drones. The deeper they went, the more danger surrounded them. At one point, Lyra stumbled, almost falling, but Ryan caught her hand. Easy, he whispered. We're almost there. Her heart pounded as their eyes met. For a brief second, the noise of the world disappeared. There was only silence and trust. They reached an old communication tower where she hacked into a security line. Her fingers trembled over the glowing console. This code, I wrote part of it years ago, she murmured. Ryan watched as screens flickered with alien text. Then finish what you started, he said quietly. Lines of data appeared one after another. Then suddenly a red warning flashed. Unauthorized access detected. Lyra's eyes widened. They've found us. Ryan pulled her away as alarms echoed across the city. Red lights bathed the streets. Drones started moving toward them. They ran through narrow alleys, hearts racing. Behind them, soldiers shouted orders in the alien tongue. The hunt had begun. As they escaped into the dark night, Ryan whispered, Now they know we're coming for the truth. And for the first time, Lyra realized, this was not just about the past. This was about the future of both their worlds. The night sky burned with flashing red alarms as Ryan and Lyra ran through the narrow back streets of the alien capital. Sirens wailed above them, and flying patrol drones scanned the area with harsh white lights. Every sound and every echo of boots made their hearts pound faster. Lyra gasped for air. "They're going to find us." "Not if we move faster," Ryan said, gripping her hand tighter. They dashed into an abandoned factory, its metal doors rusted and half broken. Inside, silence swallowed them whole, except for the sound of their quick breaths. Ryan looked around, checking for cameras. "We're safe here for a while," he said. Lyra leaned against a wall, trembling. "I can't believe this. You said we were just looking for information. Now the whole city thinks we're criminals." Ryan crouched beside her, lowering his voice. "Listen to me. The people chasing us, they're not the council. They're part of a secret group that wants to restart the weapon project. The council doesn't even know." Lyra's eyes widened. "But that weapon killed thousands. Even our own." Ryan nodded grimly. "That's why they want it back. Power always finds hands that crave it." She fell silent. Her thoughts drifted back to the day of the explosion years ago. The fire, the screams, the heat of the metal walls. She remembered the scientists shouting to save their research instead of the people trapped inside. Her stomach twisted. Ryan pulled out the small data chip again and placed it on a nearby table. "This chip has half the coordinates. The other half is locked inside the council's archive. Someone tried to erase it, but I traced the source back to that lab where you worked." Lyra blinked. "You think I can open it?" "You were one of the few who had direct access," Ryan said. "They'll never expect you to try again." Her hand shook slightly. "Ryan, why didn't you tell me all this earlier?" He looked away for a moment. "Because I didn't want to drag you into danger. But you've already risked enough to save others once." "I couldn't do this without you." Lyra's chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not with trust, not with respect. For a moment, she just stared at him, her eyes soft. "You humans? You're strange. You see things no one else does." Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe that's our curse, or our gift." Hours later, they sneaked out under the shadow of dawn. The city was still half asleep, covered in mist. They moved through the quiet alleys toward the main tower where the archives were kept, a tall crystal structure that touched the clouds. Lyra guided him through hidden routes. Her old access code surprisingly still worked for the lower gates. "I told you I wasn't completely useless," she whispered nervously. Ryan grinned. "Remind me never to underestimate you again." Inside the tower, rows of glowing data pillars stretched endlessly. The room hummed softly like a living thing. Lyra approached a console and placed her palm on it. The system scanned her and beeped in approval. "Still remembers me," she said quietly. As the screens lit up, lines of code appeared. Lyra typed quickly, unlocking old archives one by one. Then her hands froze. A file appeared on the main screen, her name on it. Ryan stepped closer. "What is it?" Her voice trembled. "It's me. My name's on the weapon project record." He frowned. "You didn't work on that." "I didn't think I did," she said. "But this file says I was listed as an assistant to the chief scientist, the one who designed the weapon core." She opened the file. Images and logs appeared on her face, her signature, her old access logs. "They used my name to hide someone else's trail," she whispered in shock. "They made me a cover." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Who would do that?" Lyra scrolled further. Then her eyes widened in horror. "The same council member who offered you the reward, Elder Sira." The truth hit like thunder. Ryan clenched his fists. She planned this from the start. The ceremony, the choice, everything was to keep you under watch. Before they could say more, the screen flickered red. "Unauthorized access detected," Lyra gasped. "They found us again." Ryan pulled her back. "We have to leave now." They ran down the narrow glass corridors as alarms blared. Guards flooded in from every side. Energy blasts exploded near them. Ryan pushed Lyra behind a pillar and returned fire with his sidearm, shouting, "Run! I'll cover you!" But Lyra refused to leave. She grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and fired awkwardly but bravely, her fear replaced by fury. "I'm not leaving you, Ryan," she shouted. Together they fought their way out, the air filled with light and smoke. By the time they escaped through a shattered window, the sun was rising over the city. Outside, hiding among the ruins again, Lyra's hands were still shaking. She looked at Ryan with wide eyes. "They were watching us all along, using me." Ryan nodded. "Now we know the truth, Lyra. You were never their mistake. You were their secret. Lyra felt anger burn inside her, but under it a new strength was growing, something she hadn't felt in years. She looked toward the horizon. Then it's time they see what their mistake can do. Ryan smiled faintly. That's the spirit. And as the light of the twin suns rose behind them, both knew the next step would change everything. The twin suns rose high above the alien capital, painting the sky gold and violet. But beneath the beauty, chaos was spreading. Ryan and Lyra had stolen the truth, and now every corner of the city was searching for them. Hidden deep in the old tunnels under the city, Ryan sat beside a flickering light. His arm was bleeding from a burn, but he didn't complain. Lyra tore a strip from her own robe and wrapped his wound carefully. "You're losing too much blood," she whispered, her hands trembling. He smiled weakly. "I've lost worse." She frowned. "You always say that." "Because it's true," he said softly. "Every soldier loses something before the fight is over." Lyra's eyes lowered. "Then what did you lose?" Ryan didn't answer at first. He stared into the small flame, his voice quiet. "A team. A home. People I couldn't save. But I don't plan to lose you." Her heart skipped. She looked away quickly, pretending to check the bandage again. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the tunnel. Lyra's eyes widened. "Someone's coming!" Ryan grabbed his weapon and pulled her behind a metal beam. A moment later, a voice called out, "Ryan Hayes, by order of the Vorian Council, surrender yourself immediately." Guards in silver armor flooded the passage. Energy lights flickered on their weapons. Ryan raised his gun, ready to fight, but then he saw something that froze him. Elder Sira herself was among them. She stepped forward gracefully, her eyes cold and calm. "Captain Hayes," she said, "you were a hero once." "Don't make this worse." Ryan aimed his blaster. "You're behind all this, aren't you?" Sira tilted her head. "Behind what?" "Using Lyra's name, building weapons again, lying to your own people," Ryan said angrily. A faint smile touched Sira's lips. "Ah, so you discovered that. You've done well, human. But you've misunderstood one thing. I didn't hide the project from the Council. I am the Council." Her soldiers raised their weapons. Ryan stood in front of Lyra, ready to fight. But Sira turned her gaze to the girl. "And you, little one, you could have stayed quiet. You could have lived a simple life. Yet you chose to follow him, a human." Lyra's voice shook. "You used me. You destroyed my life." Sira sighed. "We used what was necessary. The weak often serve a purpose greater than themselves." Ryan clenched his fists. "Don't you dare call her weak." Before he could move, one of the guards shot a stun blast. Ryan fired back, hitting 2 soldiers before another bolt hit his leg. He fell to one knee, gritting his teeth. Lyra screamed his name. "Enough!" Sira ordered. "Take them alive." The soldiers rushed forward, overpowering Ryan and grabbing Lyra. They forced her to the ground, tying her hands. Ryan tried to resist, but one strike to the head knocked him down. The world went dark. When he woke, his vision was blurry. Cold air hit his face. He was chained inside a bright white chamber, surrounded by guards. Lyra stood nearby, her wrists bound, her eyes red from crying. Sira stood before them, calm and confident. "Lyra," she said, "you can end this right now. Tell us what the human took from the archive, the codes, the data, everything, and I'll release you." Lyra looked at Ryan. His face was pale, his head bleeding. "Don't," he whispered weakly. "Whatever happens, don't tell her." Sira smiled softly. "Ah yes, loyalty. How beautiful, how foolish. You think this human cares about you? He's using you for your access codes, nothing more." Lyra's lip trembled. "You're lying." "Am I?" Sira leaned closer. "He came here with one purpose, to steal our secrets. The moment he's done, he'll leave you behind." Lyra turned to Ryan, pain in her eyes. "Is that true?" Ryan met her gaze. His voice was low but firm. "I didn't come for secrets. I came for justice, and I stayed. Because of you. Her breath caught. She wanted to believe him. Her heart screamed to believe, but fear clouded her mind. Sierra noticed the hesitation and smiled cruelly. You see, doubt already grows. She turned to her soldiers. Prepare the interrogation. As they dragged Ryan toward another door, Lyra shouted, Stop, please. Sierra faced her again. Then talk, Lyra. Give me what I want. Lyra's tears fell. She closed her eyes, whispering, No. Sierra's expression hardened. Foolish child. She nodded to her guards. They threw Ryan into a glass cell. The floor sparked with blue energy, electrified to cause pain, but not death. Ryan fell to his knees as light flashed around him. Lyra screamed, trying to break free. Tell me where the chip is, Sierra said coldly, or he dies. Lyra's heart pounded. The sound of Ryan's groans filled the room. Memories flooded back. The fire, the screams, the helplessness. She had been too weak once to save others. She wouldn't let that happen again. She lifted her head, her voice shaking but strong. Stop it. Sierra raised an eyebrow. Will you speak? Lyra looked straight into her eyes. Yes, but only to tell you this. I'll stand with him. Then she rushed forward, breaking free from the guard's grip and slammed her hand on the control panel. Sparks exploded. The power lines short-circuited and the glass cell cracked open. Ryan fell out, gasping. Smoke filled the room. Alarms blared again. Sierra shouted, I'd stop them, but it was too late. Lyra grabbed Ryan's arm and pulled him through the fire and smoke. Soldiers fired, but the chaos gave them cover. Together they ran through the blinding light, wounded and desperate, but free again. Outside, under the storming alien sky, Ryan looked at her with pain and awe. You could have betrayed me, he said. She shook her head, tears and rain mixing on her face. You saw something in me when no one else did. I won't let that go. Ryan smiled weakly. Then we keep running, together. And as lightning split the sky above them, both knew that the battle was no longer about truth or revenge. It was about trust, loyalty, and the bond that had begun between two souls from different worlds. The rain poured like silver fire over the alien city. Every drop glowed faintly in the violet light of the twin moons, washing away the smoke and dust. Ryan limped through the narrow alleys, one arm around Lyra's shoulder. His body shook with exhaustion, but his spirit refused to stop. Keep moving, he whispered. Lyra tightened her grip, helping him stay upright. Her clothes were torn, her hands burned, but her eyes burned brighter than ever. We can't keep running forever, Ryan. We need a place to hide. He nodded weakly. There's an old transport tunnel beneath the city. If we reach it, we can escape through the lower sectors. Behind them, the sound of hovercraft engines echoed. Sierra's guards were hunting them again. Bright blue searchlights swept across the streets, cutting through rain and fog. Lyra's heart pounded. They won't stop until we're dead. Ryan looked at her, his voice calm even through pain. Then we won't stop until we're free. They turned down an empty corridor lined with broken statues of alien heroes. The wind howled through the cracks, making the figures seem alive. Ryan stumbled, nearly falling, but Lyra caught him again. You should leave me, he muttered. You'll move faster alone. Lyra glared at him, her voice fierce. Don't ever say that again. I'm not leaving you, not now, not ever. For a moment, even through the chaos, Ryan smiled. You sound like a soldier now. She shook her head. No, just someone who finally knows what she's fighting for. They reached a hidden stairway leading down into the depths of the city. The air grew colder as they descended. Water dripped from the ceiling. Faint light flickered along the old tracks of an underground transport line, abandoned since the war. This will take us under the security grid, Ryan said. But the tunnel's unstable. Stay close. As they moved deeper, Lyra's sharp eyes caught something ahead, a faint red light blinking on a control panel. Wait. That's not supposed to be active. Ryan followed her gaze. A motion sensor. Before he could react, a high-pitched alarm screamed through the tunnel. Metal shutters slammed down behind them, sealing the exit. From the far end, mechanical footsteps echoed, a squad of drones advancing, their red eyes glowing like fireflies of death. Lyra grabbed a wrench from the floor. "We can't fight them all." Ryan pulled out his last plasma cell. "We don't need to. Just stall them long enough to reach that service door." The drones opened fire. Blue beams sliced through the tunnel. Ryan rolled behind a pillar and fired back, each shot shaking his injured arm. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Lyra crouched beside an old generator, frantically rewiring the circuits. "What are you doing?" he shouted. "Giving us a way out." She yelled back, "Cover me." Ryan nodded and fired again, his shots hitting 2 drones. The rest advanced, firing nonstop. Lyra twisted the wires together and slammed her hand on the switch. The generator hummed, then exploded with a blinding flash. The tunnel walls shuddered, throwing dust and debris everywhere. The explosion tore open a hole in the side wall, revealing another passage beyond. "Go!" she screamed. Ryan grabbed her hand and they jumped through the smoke. The wall collapsed behind them, blocking the drone's path. For a long moment, there was only the sound of dripping water and their quick breaths. Ryan leaned against the wall, coughing. "You just blew half the tunnel." Lyra smiled weakly. "You said we needed a way out." He laughed softly despite the pain. "Remind me not to argue with you again." They kept moving through the new passage until they found a maintenance room filled with old supply crates. Inside, Ryan finally collapsed onto the floor. Lyra rushed to his side, checking his pulse. "You're burning up," she whispered. "You need rest." He shook his head. "No time. We have to warn someone about the weapon project." "If Sierra finishes it," "She won't," Lyra interrupted firmly. "I'll make sure of it." Ryan looked at her, truly looked, and saw how much she had changed. The shy, nervous girl from the ceremony was gone. In her place stood a woman strong enough to fight an empire. "Lyra," he said quietly, "you've become something incredible." She met his eyes, tears mixing with rain. "No, you just helped me see what was already there." Before they could say more, a sudden beep came from Ryan's wrist device. A map appeared showing a glowing signal deep beneath the city, the weapon core's hidden location. Lyra's eyes widened. "That's it. The real lab." Ryan nodded, his voice faint. "It's active again. They're powering it up." She stood, determination burning in her chest. "Then we finish this, now." He tried to rise, but she pressed him back down gently. "You rest. I'll go ahead and disable the power grid. You taught me how to fight, now let me protect you." Ryan wanted to argue, but the pain in his leg stopped him. He gave a weak nod. "Be careful." Lyra squeezed his hand. "Always." Then she turned and disappeared into the dark tunnel, the glow of her weapon reflecting off the wet walls. Ryan watched her go, pride and fear mixing in his heart. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien sky. The final act had begun, and for the first time Lyra was no longer running. She was leading. The underground tunnels trembled as Lyra made her way through the narrow, dripping corridors. Her steps echoed softly, her breathing steady but her heart heavy with fear. The old world above had forgotten these places. This was where the Vorians had hidden their darkest creation. She followed the map on Ryan's wrist device. The glowing signal pulsed brighter the closer she got. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber filled with humming machines and pillars of blue light. The air crackled with energy. In the center of the room stood a giant sphere floating above the floor, the weapon core. Lyra's breath caught. "It's real," she whispered. "They rebuilt it." Rows of alien engineers worked around the sphere, their movements quick and nervous. High above, on a steel bridge, stood Elder Sierra. Her voice echoed coldly through the chamber. "Increase the power flow. I want full activation within the hour." Lyra's hands clenched into fists. Not this time. She moved silently along the shadows, using her old access codes to slip through security doors. Every beep, every flash of light made her heart race. She reached a console near the main power conduit and began typing furiously. Behind her, a familiar voice spoke, calm but dangerous. "You should have stayed hidden, Lyra." She turned. Sierra stood only a few steps away, her silver cloak glowing under the light. Guards surrounded the platform. Lyra raised her chin, fear flashing into defiance. "You lied to everyone. You said the weapon would protect us, but it only kills. Sierra's expression didn't change. Protection and destruction are two sides of the same blade. We control which side cuts. Lyra shook her head. You don't want control, you want power. Even if it destroys both our worlds. Sierra smiled faintly. You sound just like him, Lyra frowned. Like who? You're human, Sierra said, stepping closer. He thinks he's your savior. But tell me, did he ever tell you why he really chose you? Lyra froze. Sierra's eyes glimmered with cruel satisfaction. He didn't choose you for courage or kindness. He chose you because your genetic code is linked to the original weapon project. You are a living key, Lyra, that's why he wanted you. The words struck like lightning. For a moment, Lyra couldn't breathe. No, you're lying, am I? Sierra said softly. Ask him yourself. Lyra's heart twisted. But before she could respond, an explosion shook the far end of the chamber. Metal shards rained down. Through the smoke, Ryan appeared, limping but alive, his weapon raised. Lyra, he shouted. Step away from her. Sierra turned sharply. So the human lives after all. Ryan aimed his blaster. And you're done playing God. Guards fired first. Energy blasts filled the air. Ryan dived behind a console, returning fire. Lyra ducked and ran toward the control core, ignoring the chaos. Sparks rained around her as she typed in emergency shutdown codes. Ryan fought fiercely, but his wounds slowed him down. A guard aimed directly at him. Then a sudden shot from behind dropped the alien soldier. Lyra stood with a blaster in her hand, smoke rising from the barrel. Ryan looked at her in awe. Nice shot, she smiled faintly. You taught me well. But Sierra wasn't done. She slammed her hand on the console. The massive sphere pulsed violently, its glow turning red. You're too late, she shouted. The core is active. Once it reaches full charge, both species will bow before me. Lyra looked at Ryan, panic rising. If that thing explodes, it'll destroy the planet. Ryan stumbled toward her. Then we stop it together. He pressed the final override chip into her hand. Only you can do this. Your code, your DNA, it's the key. That's the truth, Sierra twisted. I didn't choose you because of it, Lyra. I chose you because even if you never knew your worth, I did. Her eyes filled with tears. You saw me before I saw myself. Ryan smiled weakly. Exactly. The weapon core began to shake violently, its glow spreading like fire. Lyra placed her hand on the console and inserted the chip. The system scanned her, recognizing her genetic code. A voice echoed, core sequence override detected. Manual deactivation required, Sierra screamed, rushing toward her. Don't touch that. Ryan stepped between them, blocking her path. It's over, Sierra. Sierra fired her weapon. The blast hit Ryan square in the chest. He fell backward, collapsing to the floor. Ryan! Lyra screamed. She turned the control lever with both hands. Shut down! Please shut down. The entire chamber exploded with light. The weapon's hum died slowly, turning into silence. The red glow faded. Sierra staggered, her eyes wide in disbelief. No, impossible. Lyra stood shaking, her hands glowing faintly from the energy discharge. It's over, she said quietly. Sierra raised her gun again, but Lyra fired first. The blast threw Sierra across the platform. She fell still. Lyra rushed to Ryan's side. His breathing was shallow, blood staining his shirt. You did it, he whispered. No, we did, she said, tears falling freely. He smiled faintly. Now, they'll know what real strength looks like. Lyra held him tightly as the first light of dawn reached through the shattered ceiling. The city above was safe, the weapon gone forever. Later, when the council rebuilt, they told the story of the human soldier who saved their world, and the alien girl who found her courage beside him. And though Ryan's body never rose again, his legacy lived on in the heart of one who finally understood why he had chosen her. Because in a world of perfection, he had seen real beauty in a heart brave enough to care.